You can put it on the board. Yes! Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP-TV mobile studio. That's AAMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you try their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all, those cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Probably the best in the business, certainly the best I've ever had. Hell, even those Angus and Wagyu burgers, certainly the best I've ever had. Find out what's for dinner at 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935 at Uppercut Chops, or check them out on your mobile device or on your computer at uppercutchops.com. That's uppercutchops.com. An astounding round of applause for Uppercut Chops. And by the way, a big welcome in to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, all of our independents as well, plus Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, and WOW Cable, as well as hotel television in over 500,000 rooms from coast to coast. We're here with a very special guest. In fact, we're going to let her introduce herself. Who do we have here today? Margaret, that's your cue. Hello, Margaret, are you there?
Hello.
Oh, there she is.
There's a thing in front of you, and it's telling me to do something, and I have no idea.
Oh, okay. I don't know what that is, but tell everybody who you are and give everybody about a 30-second background on yourself. Okay. Maybe some technical issues, but we're still here. We're waiting for Margaret, our special guest, to reconnect. I lost her video. I'm not really sure what happened here, folks. It's live. Anything could happen. That's the best part about it, folks. Anything could happen. So when she comes back on, hopefully she'll start talking to us, and then we'll be fine. But anyway, in the meantime, we do have a very special guest. And folks, you've probably seen her if you're, well, let's face it, if you're a fan of fairy tales.
Hello?
And Disneyland. There she is. All right, she's back.
Hello.
So tell everybody about yourself. First of all, who you are, and tell everybody about yourself.
Tell everybody about myself. Well, I'm excited because I love anniversaries. I do just beautifully with anniversaries. And in May, I will turn 94. And that means that I have been in show business 90 years.
90 years?
When I was 4 years old in Argane Comedies and Warner Brothers and all the movies that you made at MGM. I didn't do anything huge, but it was wonderful. I was in show business, and I still am. I'm still working and enjoying it after 90 years. Well, in May, it'll be 90 years. And I'm excited about that. I was asked to play the part of Tinkerbell by Mark Davis because in those days, they would cast somebody in the role of the featured star of the movie, and then you went before a huge camera on the soundstage and acted up the work. And I got the job, and I'm still Tinkerbell. I'm still having an absolutely wonderful time. And I love that they called me back and said, would you like to be the Red-Headed Mermaid? Most people don't know that I was also the Red-Headed Mermaid. Oh, Peter, we're so happy to see you. That was little old me. Let's see. And then there's the 70th anniversary of Peter Pan that comes up in February. And that's exciting. And I'll probably be at the West Coast on that. And then there's also the 100th anniversary of Walt Disney Productions. I mean, is this not an exciting ride? I've gone through being a role model for Tinkerbell. I also have done over 600 cartoons, voiceovers with the Three Stooges and people like that. And I do 21 different dialects and 48 different voices. And that was great fun. They're still playing. Can you imagine? They're still playing. And then Then I worked at a radio station for 12 years, which was great. I also had 3 kids, and which is great. My oldest just turned 70, if you can believe it. And he is the funniest man. No offense, Sal, but he's funnier than you even. I mean, he comes out with he named my radio show because it's Christian talk radio that I was on. He named it Ministry Loves Company. And I was there for 12 years. I had a wonderful time. I travel for the Andy Griffith Show because I was on that. I go up and at Mayberry in September. I think it's the third weekend in September, and that's in Mount Airy, North Carolina. And we turn the whole town into Mayberry. Let's see. And I'm also invited to come to the Cherry Festival in Missouri, and we do a big thing there. It's just, I'm excited for life. And on top of that, I met a man he found me, I should say, after 70 years that I dated 70 years ago, and we got married. I've been married now to him almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in February. And then Sal asked me to be on his show. So, I mean, how good can it be?
You know what? The one thing that people didn't get when you first got onto the screen was they didn't get your name and they didn't get your role within the Disney World.
My role in Disney World. Well,
they didn't get your name first.
Changed. You know that. I think I'm answering your question.
No, they
I'm
didn't.
A little trouble hearing my
they did not get your name. What is your name?
Oh, Margaret Kerry, Kerry.
Margaret.
However, when I started out in The Little Rascals, it was Peggy Lynch, Lynch. I had the most adorable, wonderful mother, and she was so annoying. She was a Hollywood mother. And she adopted me when she was 54. So she was old enough to be my grandmother. And, I forgot to tell you, I was born in 1929, and I caused the Depression.
Yes.
I apologize for it, but I was adopted by her and her darling husband, my dad. He was also 54. They didn't know what to do with me. But they had me, and my mother said, Shirley Temple's doing very well. She's making money. And Peggy can make actually $6.50 a day if she goes to work in the movies. So my mother put me to work in the movies, and I loved it. And I was Peggy Lynch, and all the way through until I was 18. And I did USO shows and all the rest under Peggy Lynch. And I did a movie with Eddie Cantor. I played his daughter in a movie called If You Knew Susie. I did a wild tap dance up on top of tables. It was great. Anyway, Mr. Cantor said to me, Eddie Cantor, by the way, was the highest paid vaudevillian and comedian in the country in the 20s. So he's the man with the googly eyes, kind of thing. He taught me how to do that. So he said, Peggy, you don't want to be called Peggy anymore. I said, no, Mr. Cantor. I didn't know what he was talking about. He said, I just talked to Peggy Woods, the great actress, and she's tired at 60 of being called Peggy. And I said, yes, Mr. Cantor. I had no idea who Peggy Wood was. And he said, we're going to change your name, okay? Yes, Mr. Cantor. And his name is Isidore Itzkowitz. So if he could change it to Eddie Cantor, I figured he could do anything. He also gave Dinah Shore her name. She was a great singer, pop singer about that time. And he said to me, do you like your first name? And I stopped and I said, Margaret? And he said, yes. And I said, I guess so. And he said, okay, you're Margaret. Now, I have an actor whom I adore, Norman Kerry. Yes, Mr. Cantor. I had no idea who Norman Cantor was. Kerry was. And so I said, Margaret Kerry, how do you like that? It's about as Irish as you look. And I said, yes, Mr. Cantor. And from that time on, I was Margaret Kerry until 5 years ago, I became Margaret with my darling new husband, Robert.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Hey, listen, Margaret, we're coming up on break here. So, folks, let's see if I can spit that one out. In case you're just tuning in, we're here with Margaret Kerry. And, of course, working with Disney for 70 years, if I'm not mistaken. 70 years as Tinkerbell. And...
No, 72 years.
72 years as Tinkerbell. That's unbelievable. It's hard to even imagine. I'm not even that old, but I have to say that I feel that old sometimes. But folks, when we come back from break, we're going to hear a little bit more from Margaret Kerry, but you can call her Tinkerbell, and you can call her all kinds of other things. Also a cartoon character, a living cartoon character, and a fairy tale as well. Back here in a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
AMP, the multi-format network, is here to help create, produce, distribute, and sell your content. For more information, send a message to info@aamp.tv. That's info@aamp.tv.
Are you okay? So we have another minute and 30 seconds before we come back.
That black thing is in front of me, says this meeting is being held, blah, blah, blah. I can't
Oh, that's
see.
because all you have to do is tap that, and it'll go
sorry?
away. If you tap it, it will go away.
Okay, I was afraid to without asking you.
No, just it'll go away. Just acknowledge it. Say okay or got it or whatever it says.
Well, it says leave meeting,
No,
and then it says got it.
hit got it.
Okay. Oh, much better.
I know. I'm trying to give you cues. I'm like 3 minutes, 2
And
minutes,
I couldn't
1
see
minute.
you.
Okay, that's fine. That's
Are we
okay.
doing any good?
Well, you're doing wonderfully. Just watch for my cues on 2 minutes, 1 minute
I'll
kind of
try.
thing, and we're good. Everything is good. We're just having fun doing this. That's all we should be doing. So you could see.
Now I can see you.
Oh boy! Now it says the meeting will end in 10 minutes for some reason. Oh boy! All right, so we're gonna pack as much into this 10-minute piece that we can. All right.
I couldn't hear you.
We have 10 minutes remaining.
10 minutes.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it'll automatically shut off apparently. Okay. So just pay attention
I can
to
sit
it.
back for 10 minutes is what you're saying?
Yeah. We have 10 minutes. So just bear with it. All right, we're coming back right now. So in other words, I'll give you a cue to wrap it up. Okay.
Oh, yes.
And then just tell everybody thanks for whatever and plug your book. Okay. Here we go.
Can I say
Broadcasting.
my website?
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Okay, folks, welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at Legal Shield, providing legal protection and peace of mind. Legal Shield can help with traffic tickets, texting and driving, DUIs, court appearances, estate planning, even contracts given to people they don't understand, plus a whole lot more. For more information, contact Legal Shield at 213-245-1305. That's 213-245-1305. Or check them out online at nocourt.us. That's nocourt.us. All right, welcome back to everybody watching on television in hotels from coast to coast, as well as Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Walt Cable, Walt Cable affiliates for television. That's right, and also Cox, Comcast. I already said that, and our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast. Sorry, folks, it's live. Anything can happen. We always leave it live. That's the best part. We're joined with a very special guest. That's Margaret. Kerry, you probably know her as Tinkerbell or another cartoon character or cartoon voice or even someone from our gang way back in the day. So, Margaret, welcome back. We've got a little bit of time here before we have to shut down our meeting. But in the meantime, tell everybody how you got into show business in the first place.
Why I say that I'm Tinkerbell, because they cast me in the role. And then I went to the sound stage, and then they had the big camera and all the crew, and they took film of it. They gave parts of that film back, and the animators and Mark Davis leading the whole thing, and I gave Tinkerbell her attitude and her movements and all the rest. And when people say that Marilyn Monroe, with whom I worked and thought highly of, did Tinkerbell, I can't say no, but she could have done it if they had asked her, I'm sure.
Okay. Hey, so you had a great experience playing that role. In fact, you even wrote a book about that. It's kind of hard to see. It's called here, Tinkerbell Talks.
Tinkerbell Talks. And you know how I wrote it? There's a picture of me, and if I had a bigger screen, I'd show it to you. When I was 4 years old, and all the way through, there are 80 stories in it, and there are 160 pictures, and the longest story is 8 pages, the shortest story is 1 page, and all of them are funny. And so they can go on my website, tinkerbelltalks.com, and it's there, and they can see the book. It's great fun, and it's a bestseller, would you believe?
No kidding. Wow, that's incredible. Well, you know, most people just dream of the idea of writing a bestseller. You just happen to have one.
You know, I missed that one.
I said most people will dream of the idea of having a best-selling book. You just happen to have one.
Isn't that amazing? You know, my romantic story, I think Dreama Denver is going to write it, because I'm a little past writing another book. But can I tell you what happened? I'm so excited about it.
Sure. Take a couple minutes and tell us.
I was 90 years old. I lived in California all my life, and I knew I was moving out of California. And then after my 90th birthday, about 3 weeks later, I get an email from Europe. It says, would you like to get back in touch with Robert Opie, whom you knew 70 years ago? And I remembered him, and I had one piece of jewelry that I'd kept all that time, and it was from him. It was a bracelet. And so I said, yes. What was he doing in Europe? Well, he is a hero of World War II. He was over at the commemoration of the 75th anniversary of D-Day, and he was being honored, and he had to fly. Now, listen to this. He had to fly into Amsterdam to pick up the ship that he was going to be touring on, right? And he takes a ride down with his friends in the streets of Amsterdam, and there, across the street, was this big store with a sign that said, Tinkerbell's Toys. What Tinkerbell was doing in Amsterdam, I don't know. But anyway, he turned to his friends and said, did I ever tell you that I dated Tinkerbell? They said, don't tell us. And he did. And the lady there got in touch with me through my website, tinkerbelltalks.com. And I got this email, would you like to get back in touch with Robert Opie? We dated, I guess, 12 times only. Oh, I was about 18 or 19 at the time, and he had graduated from USC. after getting out of the infantry. And we liked, but we had to go our own way. I got to work for Disney and ABC, and he went and worked for, I've forgotten what the name of, anyway, a dog company. And he became an executive. We lost, well, I certainly went back and said I would be delighted. We talked back and forth, and here's where Disney comes in again. We decided that we could get married on St. Valentine's Day the following year. And Disney opened its studios to us and took us all on a tour, everybody on a tour. And then after we got married, the next day, they had a big party for us. 113 people came. And the next day, we went to Walt Disney's barn in Griffith Park, and 400 people came and met my new hubby. And if that isn't a fairy tale with Disney and God, I don't know what is. So
that's incredible. Hey, listen, Margaret, I know you have to run in about less than 2 minutes. So tell everybody where they can find that book, Tinkerbell Talks.
Tinkerbell Talks, I think you asked me.
Yeah. Where can people find that book?
Oh, you can get it on my website. What a thank you so much. Tinkerbelltalks.com. And there it is.
Tinkerbelltalks.com. That's amazing.
I want everybody to read it like Reader's Digest. Open up to any place that you want. There are pictures of me with Walt Disney and other pictures that you would just be so. My picture with Marilyn Monroe. Everybody just loves it and has a great time.
That's great. I have a copy of that book. You sent me a copy of that book, which is very exciting. And I'm about a third of the way through it. It's a very lengthy book. And folks, this is not one of those 3-page books. No, this is, I'm going to guess, a couple of 100 pages or so. But nonetheless,
I call it
it's 300. It's almost 400 pages.
Reader's Digest. You pick it up and read it and put it down.
Right. It's about 400 pages. But listen, I want to find out real quick for all of our audience, do you have any social media where people follow you or anything like that real quick?
Yes, I have one in Facebook. But I never go on it. And the one time I went on it, I spent 13 hours trying to answer everybody. And they said, no, that's not what you do.
That's a lot of time.
I love Facebook, and I have videos on it. And I have some new videos coming up. I want to say Merry Christmas to everyone, by the way. And on my website, we've got lots of Christmas things. But I wanted to say Merry Christmas to you, too. And here's a whole bunch of pixie dust to everybody. And thank you for sticking with me, Sal, and having me come on board.
She says pixie dust. Well, we're going to have you back on the show for sure. So don't be so distant. We're going to be with you again soon. All right, so you'll be back on the show with us, okay?
I would love it. You are such a nice fellow. Does everybody know that?
I don't know.
You came over and talked to me in Las Vegas when we were doing the show that we just finished, and you were just adorable. I really, really, people, you will love him when you meet him.
Well, that's good stuff. That's rather generous. All right, folks, that's a big thank you again, of course, for Margaret Kerry. And you can call her Tinkerbell. All right, for everybody that's watching on television right now, we have a small television interruption because that's what we do, unfortunately. And everybody else that's streaming, in fact, everybody's streaming on Instagram, thanks for joining us right now. And we're going to continue on with this. But I will tell you that Margaret Kerry is a very, very lovely woman, just a wealth of fairy tale knowledge. It's not every day that you get a chance to speak with a real live fairy tale star. I guess so. That's the only way I can actually say it. A fairy tale star? Not really sure. But in any event, it is a wonderful situation when you could bring on somebody that's been in show business for 90 years. Imagine that. 90 years. Man, that's a long time. 90 years in show business dealing with all the, we'll just say all the stuff. Because the stuff that comes with show business sometimes, it is not the most fun, or better yet, it's not the least political, if you know what I mean, right? But anyway, show business is just that. And, well, I guess we're kind of doing show business here today. But in any event, Margaret didn't get a chance to stay with us too terribly long. But I can tell you maybe a little bit more in case you're just tuning in and you want to go back and replay this episode. Because Margaret Kerry was Walt Disney's Tinkerbell. Of course, she has a book that we just talked about called Tinkerbell Talks. And in fact, Tinkerbell Talks, Tale of Pixie Dust Life is an autobiography by American actress, motivational speaker, radio host, and author, of course, Margaret Kerry, who was just on with us. And of course, the memoir recounts the actress's lengthy Hollywood career, her faith and relationship through her life, starting in childhood, appearing in Our Gang, like the Little Rascals, that kind of thing, comedy shorts, being the reference model for the character Tinkerbell in Walt Disney's Peter Pan, and of course her appearances on The Lone Ranger and Andy Griffith Show, and starting in The Ruggles on ABC, and becoming a voiceover performer, a motivational speaker, and radio host. The book Tinkerbell Talks includes 180 photos and bits of artwork. Folks, we're going to be back here in just a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business.
103.1 WXX4.
590 VOCM St. John, 850 CHVO Carbonear, 710 CKVO Clarenville, 560 CHCM Marystown, 650 CKGA Gander, 620 CKCM Grand Falls, and 1240 CKIM Bay Vert.
FM 96, Coit, KOIT.
You're listening. The only one radio station in the heart of Pasig City. This is 104.1 Best Radio FM. Stay tuned.
KDFC San Francisco and KIVE Palo
99.7. You're tuned into Boston's best for dance and R&B. Keep it locked. Keep it locked to Mix 96.
WAQI, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. WKLO, Louisville.
RFM, Stereo 105.
WJBQ. Wherever you are, whatever you do, have a nice day. Sky Radio on the Capital FM,
Hey everybody, this is Barry Katz from the Industry Standard Podcast, and you're listening to the Sports Circus with Sal Tuzzolino.
All right, folks. Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. All right, this segment is brought to you in part by our friends over at Cali Vegas, helping people create and host their very own radio, TV, or multimedia talk show. Cali Vegas can help with everything they need to get out of sitting in hours of traffic, commuting back and forth to the same old boring job, and host your very own talk show in your very own home studio. For more information, contact Cali Vegas at 949-445-1119. That's 949-445-1119. Again, 949-445-1119. Or check them out online at www.calivegas.com. That's CALI Vegas.com. Yes! All right, a big welcome in to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the 49ers, the New York Yankees, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome to everybody that may be listening in over in Southern California on NBC News and CNBC Financial with our friends over there, KCAA, as well as right here in Las Vegas, KQQY. Thanks for joining us also in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM. In Auburn, Alabama, that's home of the 2021 World Champion Atlanta Braves, stretching all the way from Columbus, Georgia, over to Montgomery, Alabama. Of course, big hello to our friends picking up our content in Lubbock, Texas, on Raider Radio. That's KTXT 88.1 FM on the campus of Texas Tech University, and all of our independents and television affiliates on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, and WOW Cable TV, as well as Hotel TV, gaining 4 million impressions per hour. Top that any other show, and it's not happening. All right, so in the last segment, we had the great Margaret Kerry, who plays Tinkerbell, who's played Tinkerbell for, 73 years, whatnot, been in the acting business for actually in May, it'll be 90 years. Imagine being in acting for 90 years. That's unbelievable. Imagine anything for 90 years. So here's something that really won't necessarily last for 90 years, and that would be a riot. How about a riot as it breaks out in Belgium after a shocking loss to Morocco? Oh, boy. These people with this soccer stuff, they just can't seem to get it right. Either they're happy, they burn cities down. They're sad, they burn cities down. Either way, something's getting burnt or something's getting destroyed. This is what happens. I guess it's a European thing? Nah. It's a South American thing? Nah. It's a worldwide thing. World Cup 2022 riots break out in Belgium after a shocking loss to Morocco. In fact, Belgium's loss to Morocco didn't go over well at home. Riots broke out in several cities in Belgium and the Netherlands following Belgium's 2-0 loss to Morocco at the World Cup in Qatar. About a dozen people were detained by police in Brussels, who used water cannons and tear gas to disperse crowds, according to the Associated Press. 8 people were detained in Antwerp, and 2 police officials were injured in Rotterdam after soccer fans allegedly pelted police with fireworks and glass. What the hell's the matter with these people? Unbelievable. I have to ask our friends over in Europe about this. It's ridiculous. Among other things, cars on the streets were pelted with bricks, flipped and torched, and electric scooters were set on fire. Subway and tram traffic was briefly interrupted in many cities as well. Brussels Mayor Philippe Closet said via Yahoo Sports Australia, quote, "Those are not fans, they are rioters. Moroccan fans are there to celebrate, and I condemn in the strongest terms the incidents of this afternoon," close quote. What the hell are Moroccan fans doing over there tearing up another country and other cities? What kind of crap is that? That should never be allowed. That's right. If you've ever been to Morocco, folks, I've been to Morocco, I'll tell you. In fact, when I went to Morocco 100 years ago, I actually had to leave my passport at the port because I took a boat over from across the Strait of Gibraltar, from Gibraltar over to Tangiers, right? And so, of course, when I say Tangier, people will look right here in Las Vegas and say, hey, wait, that's the Tangier of the same hotel from the movie Casino. Yeah, no. A little applause, but not. But anyway, in Tangier, they took my passport in Morocco, and it was very, very, very strict. So people can't just come into Morocco and set the world afire like the Moroccans can come into Belgium or this country or that country and set their cities afire. It's unbelievable. But nonetheless, Morocco picked up just their third win ever at the World Cup with a late goal from Romain Saiss in the 73rd minute, and then another from Zakaria in extra time. And of course, Morocco's last win at the event came way back in the time machine in 1988. In fact, Belgium, well, let's put it this way, they've seen better days. So let's think about this for a minute. So people had said, they put some comments out there, and we went and read through some of these comments, and some of the comments were kind of humorous, but they're really true. How about this one? This comes from an unnamed source. It says, "So nice how the World Cup bring people together." It doesn't bring people together. In fact, it divides people. Another one says, "This is why Americans laugh when Europeans want to talk about us taking sports too seriously." That's right. All right, so hey, listen, we have the World Series, the Super Bowl, the NBA Finals, and of course, we have the Stanley Cup playoffs in North America. And they say we take things too serious. They're tearing cities down. They're going to opposing countries and tearing their cities down. Imagine that. Here's another one. This commenter says, "I wonder why we don't have water cannons and trucks in the U.S. That would stop a lot of, quote, activity." Really? What activity are you talking about? You're talking about when they were burning cities and doing all kinds of crap in like Seattle and rioting in Minneapolis and all that crap? No, that was all blue team agenda. No, all that stuff. In fact, you may recall, if you saw the pregame video, so to say, certain groups, with air quotes, everybody on TV could see this, they conveniently left bricks out on corners and on pallets. Crazy. Pallet loads of bricks for rioters, apparently, to do whatever it is that they do, to destroy things. So we don't really do things like that here, unless, of course, they're premeditated by a certain political group in this country, which we see on occasion, especially when a blue team administration is in place in the first place, which is a colossal failure if you look at our local and national economy. And as the United States looks in the global picture, those in Italy, for example, can attest to that. Well, unfortunately, when we have a blue team administration, and it seems like the wheels fall off. Oh, and then, by the way, there's this, the media is obviously controlled by the government as well. In case you didn't know that, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on this, passed in the 11th hour, or better yet, it could be the 23rd hour, back in around 2014. That would be number 44, apparently, had passed some legislation where the media actually has to do what? Has to listen to, yes, the government and the government's narrative. How about that for propaganda? You know, they always say in the old, those old Cold War movies or bits, whatever, oh, propaganda, you're listening to too much propaganda. Well, guess what? We do have it here, just like they have it in Europe and in South America and Asia. And actually, Asia's seen quite a bit of it. But, you know, with this whole World Cup thing, it just, people say, well, does it bring people together? Not necessarily. Causes a lot of crap. And in fact, more commenters said, I wonder why we don't have the water cannon, at which I said it would stop activity. Another one says, just an excuse for the hoodie crowd to destroy stuff. And it could have been the cancellation of Jeopardy, and they still would have done it. Always looking for any reason. That's one hell of a comment right there. And then we have another one here. This might be our last one. No, we got two more. One commenter said, those are not Belgians rioting because they lost. They are Moroccans because they're causing mayhem, even though they won. And you can clearly see them carrying the flag of Morocco, that red and green star. They cause trouble no matter where they go. And our last comment says, another one said, looks like Portland did in 2021. Looks like just another day in Portland. In Portland, they call this mostly peaceful. That's right, folks. That's kind of how that one plays here. So yeah, World Cup seems to cause a lot of mayhem. So everybody in Europe right now, if you think you're alone, no, you're not alone, because all it takes is a cloud in the sky and mayhem happens here in this country. Back here in a few minutes on The Circus. Lots more to come, folks. Don't go anywhere. That's the best one.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes, are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV mobile studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, or recorded shows, which are a podcast. In fact, even today's show, in case you missed any part of it, you can go back and listen to the recorded show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, we're everywhere, Google Podcasts. You can't miss those, folks. Just go to thesportscircus.com, and right below the flashing logo, the big top, that's kind of a pretty cool logo. It's one of the coolest ones I've ever seen. Anyway, right below there'll be a bunch of links to pick your favorite platform and find today's date with today's guest, Margaret Kerry. Margaret Kerry, who played Tinkerbell. She's the original Tinkerbell from Walt Disney. Imagine that. Cast as the original Tinkerbell with fairy dust and all that. The whole Peter Pan story. Yes, check out the balance of this show in case you're just tuning in right now on any of those recorded show platforms, which people call them podcasts. This is not a podcast. We do a regular live radio and television show. It just happens to be that our recorded shows are stored there as well. And also you could find those on AAMP.TV. That's AMP TV, stands for All Ages Media Programming, in case you're keeping score. All right, also at thesportscircus.com, make sure you go to the partners page and check out the partners that have been there with us for quite some time. In fact, one of those, I'm wearing a shirt that says, everybody on TV can see, it says College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com. Check them out for upcoming events and games. That's csncoyotes.com for your tickets and information to upcoming games and events at the College of Southern Nevada. Good stuff right here in the Vegas Valley. All right, folks, welcome back to everybody on television and radio. And in this segment, better yet, I'm not going to stick with the soccer anymore. The soccer was terrible. I don't care. Sorry. Soccer is not one of the four major food groups of sports, which are baseball, football, basketball, and hockey. Those are the four major food groups, and frankly, soccer does not qualify, as I see it, in this country, if you know what I mean. Nonetheless, how about college football? Because college football is a big deal. It's a really big deal. And how about finally, the college football playoff is set to expand to 12 teams. Yes! It's going to solve a lot of this crap of, well, who belongs in this Final Four tournament and who doesn't, blah, blah, blah. So in a couple of years, this whole thing's going to happen. In fact, college football playoffs' long-awaited expansion appears to be coming sooner than expected. Well, couldn't come soon enough. In fact, apparently there was one bowl game that was sort of holding everything up, holding the world up, and frankly, I don't blame them. That was the Rose Bowl. The Rose Bowl signed an agreement that will allow the college football playoff to expand to 12 teams for the 2024 and 25 season, 2 years earlier than it previously planned, starting in 2026, according to the four-letter network. Now, as Sports Illustrated said, the Rose Bowl had been the final holdout preventing the playoff from making the early change. And of course, college football officials reportedly, that would be college football playoff officials, reportedly issued an ultimatum to the Rose Bowl organizers a week ago, giving them an end-of-month deadline to agree to the proposal. So, why it took the Rose Bowl so long to agree to this expansion? Let's take a look at that. The Rose Bowl had been stonewalling, as they reported, of course, the CFP, which is College Football Playoff. So they've been reporting, or better yet, they've been allegedly stonewalling the CFP with the intent of maintaining its status and structure as much as possible. Frankly, I don't blame them. First, it was requested that it be allowed to keep its traditional January 1st window in future playoffs, which of course the Rose Parade, let's think about this, that we watch the Rose Parade on television. It's kind of a big deal. So you want the Rose Bowl to sort of follow the Rose Parade. It's one great big fun event in Pasadena, California. If you've never been to the Rose Parade or the Rose Bowl, folks, you're really missing out. So of course they wanted to keep that window for January 1st for future playoffs. Frankly, I don't blame them, with the intentions of hosting the Big Ten and Pac-12 teams when its playoff game didn't fall on New Year's Day. And again, that seems fair and reasonable, but there's too much money involved. So the college football playoff officials reportedly turned the idea down, and the Rose Bowl's next step, of course, was a proposal in which it would give up control of the New Year's Day game itself, but be allowed to host a semifinal 2 out of every 3 years, rather than hosting 2 quarterfinals for every semifinal in the currently planned cycle. So the Rose Bowl is kind of getting the short end of the stick here in terms of games and game quality. And that also apparently didn't go over well, frankly. Again, I don't blame them. So had the Rose Bowl not agreed to change, college football's most exclusive bowl reportedly faced the possibility of being excluded from the New Year's 6 bowl rotation in the college football playoffs' next contract. And that in itself deserves an astounding round of boos. So, instead, The granddaddy of them all apparently gave up on special treatment, and now it looks like the college football playoff has all the support it needs to move forward with its lucrative plan for expansion. And here's why they gave it up: because they're going to get their share. Yes, the expanded field will reportedly yield $450 million.
Show me the money!
In gross revenues, starting in 2024. So how will the expanded playoff football look? I mean, we want to know, what the hell does this thing look like? What's the CFP crap in the first place? College football playoff. It's just a big money-making scheme, in my opinion, anyway. And so, barring some unannounced changes, the college football playoff will be moving up its plans to change just in a couple of years. Now, under the new system, the playoff field would be composed of the top 6 conference champions among the 10 active conferences, plus 6 wildcard teams, guaranteeing a spot, of course, for the 5 Power 5 champions, right, which are the Big Ten, the SEC, the Pac-12, the Big 12, and the ACC. So each one of those champions all get an automatic bid into the CFP playoff program. And then one of the group of 5 conferences, whether it's the Mountain West or the American Athletic Conference, I think it's going to be probably the Mountain West Conference, is going to get their say in this. But it really could be a very interesting toss-up. But remember, so those are your 6 automatic bids, but then there are 6 at large, which could come from one of the other conferences, such as, if it was the Mountain West, then maybe the AAC, American Athletic, would be able to take one of those spots, or it could be from the Mid-American Conference or another conference. It doesn't matter. The fact is, this is how it's unraveling, and so they have tried to accommodate some of the other conferences out there, so you get 6 automatic, 6 at-large bids. The problem is with those at-large bids, my best guess is they're going to go to the SEC and the Big Ten. That's probably where the bulk will go. So let's just say you've got 6 at-large, of which maybe one other club, if it is one other university has they're undefeated. And let's just say, hypothetically, let's just pick one out of the thin air. Let's just call it Eastern Michigan, right? Out of the Mid-American Conference. Let's just say Eastern Michigan is undefeated. Or better yet, Central Michigan, because they were the good one in the not-so-distant past when they had P.J. Fleck, if I'm not mistaken, as their coach, who's now with the Minnesota Golden Gophers. So let's just say Central Michigan is undefeated. Or we could go back to when, that's right, Central Florida, when they were the only undefeated team left in America, which they should have been ranked number 1, but Alabama didn't want to play them, of course, because Alabama was declared number 1 because they beat Georgia in the national title game, whatever. But then again, Central Florida didn't even get a shot. So in this particular example, Central Michigan, if they were an undefeated team, and maybe they would take one of those at-large bids, because the others will likely, I said, be taken up by Power 5 schools that have either one loss or they're undefeated, which, again, it's kind of a skewed system, but that's how it works for money. Anyway, so under the new system, the playoff field will be comprised of the top 6 conference champions, along with, of course, those Power 5s and one group of 5. The top 4 conference champions will get a bye in the quarterfinals, so they don't have to play in the quarterfinals, while the 8 remaining teams will play first-round games at home stadiums of the higher-seeded teams, which I kind of like that. Now, from the quarterfinals, the games will be played at neutral sites. The New Year's 6 bowl games, the Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl, Orange Bowl, Cotton Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, and the Peach Bowl. They will cycle through hosting quarterfinals and semifinals games, with each bowl getting a semifinal once every 3 years. That was what the Rose Bowl was complaining about. And of course, first round games will reportedly be held in the 3rd week of December. 3 quarterfinal games will be played on New Year's Day, with a 4th either on New Year's Eve or January 2nd. The semifinals will follow about 1 week after that, and the championship game will be played at another neutral site the week after that. So now we're talking about the college football season used to end basically at New Year's Day. That was it, right? That's when, back in the day, the bowl games didn't have a sponsor, like the Orange Bowl by this company or the Rose Bowl sponsored by this company or blah, blah, blah. All right. But now with all the TV money and the sponsors, it goes on for an extra 2 weeks because there's TV money involved. And as you had heard earlier in this story, $450 million will be added to the kitty because of those TV contracts. So you say, the TV contracts, yeah, they're bad, but yeah, they're kind of good for the universities because the universities get plenty of money. The question is, what are they going to do with that money? Will it go back to the general scholarship fund or will it go to the athletic department? And that's the biggest conundrum. So you think of failing athletics? Nah. You think of failing academics? Yeah. Failing academics in some of these schools, you scratch your head and say, well, wait a minute. What does Ohio State do with their $110 million, maybe it's $119 million now, I don't know, that big recruiting budget? What do they do with that money? Well, it seems to me that it goes to, I don't know, maybe paying players off, student athletes, where really they're athlete students. So the money kind of goes to them seemingly. And one of our contributors to the program once said, and he was a referee for 2 national title games down in Miami, he said, when I pulled into the Orange Bowl where the University of Miami played, he said, I knew I was in Miami because why? The players had better cars than I did. Yeah, and that was back in the 1980s. So folks, it's alive and well. So anyway, so watch out for that CFP thing as it unravels. And guess what, folks? We're out of time. A big thanks to Margaret Kerry joining us today, who, of course, in case you're just tuning in, the original Tinkerbell from Walt Disney was with us for the first half of the show today. And folks, make sure you go back and listen to that recorded show on either Apple Podcast or Spotify or Amazon Music or Google Podcast or Audible as well, or Stitcher. We're on all of those. Anyway, folks, that's going to do it. We're going to see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. So until then, so long, everyone.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.